First question, starting off easy. How do you like the life in Munich? How's it been adapting to the German culture and just living in Germany in general?
It's been great. I really didn't know what to expect. I'd never been in Germany before the season started, but the teammates have been great, and everyone in the organization has really welcomed me and all the imports with open arms. And I think the organization just kind of makes the transition as easy as it can possibly be. And it's not too bad living here in Munich. It's pretty nice.
What made you go to Munich though? We know you went through, we already said in the trivia segment, you went through Spain, and we're going to talk about the Osos Rivas in a second, but what made you come over here in Europe and then go to Munich in particular?
I originally just came to Europe. It was actually through a coach I had at UNC named Lee Rose, who's now on the staff in Madrid.
Wait. Coach Rose coached you at UNC?
Mm-hmm.
He was my coach at Butler.
There you go.
Oh, that's insane. I didn't realize that was your connect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go. He's the man.
Lee's an awesome guy. His dad was actually the defensive coordinator for our high school rivals, so I had just kind of some level of connection there with him being from Charlotte. But he had always been talking about European football, and honestly, I didn't really listen to him at first, and was like, why is this guy talking about football in Europe? I didn't even know that existed. And then, kind of as the years went by, and didn't think I was going to get a shot to compete for the job at Chapel Hill, and just sort of started exploring other options and thought about transferring, and had some friends actually from college who were going to Madrid. And I just said, hey, Lee, are there any teams in Madrid? And he said, yeah, there's probably two that you'd want to play for. There's the Black Demons and the Osos. And so I got in touch with the Osos and ended up signing there and never looked back.
That's crazy because my teammate Mason Brunner played for the Black Demons before COVID, and Coach Rose was his connect there. So it's funny that he's got his hands in both, right? He's able to reference.
Finding talent over to Europe, this guy. Love that.
Yeah.
But and then I guess just actually sort of shortly thereafter, I was back home and I went in my high school coach's office and I was talking to him. I said, hey, coach, this is going to come completely out of left field, but I'm going to Europe. I'm leaving tomorrow for Madrid. And he was excited. And he said, you know what? Now that I think about it, my college teammate is like the Tom Brady of Europe. And I was like, oh, wow. And so he sends me Sean Shelton's contact.
Oh,
no way.
And so I got in touch with Sean a little bit, and we talked a little bit last summer, and then we got kind of back in touch in maybe September, October, and things fell into place, and they ended up offering me the contract. And so I knew when that happened that this is where I wanted to be.
How, what did you tell them in the interview, or what did you show in the practice before the season to get a multi-year contract before even doing your first year in the ELF? What did you do? You just impressed everybody so much. What happened?
It's a bucket.
No, I don't know. No, the interview was pretty fun. We kind of just talked ball, watched some film, and then they kind of brought that up shortly thereafter about maybe doing a multi-year deal. And I was kind of caught off guard, honestly, as well. But they felt really strongly about wanting a young guy that they can build around, especially just the way the ELF is with imports. There's so much turnover year to year, and it's really hard to have kind of a cohesive culture when you're bringing, especially at the quarterback position, when you're bringing new guys in all the time. And so they were, believed in me enough to want to build around me. And so I saw that as a huge compliment. And if they felt that strongly about me, then I'd, kind of show some reciprocity there and sign my name on the dotted line and, really just show that I'm committed to building this thing.
What about the time in Madrid? We kind of skipped over that one. You said you played with the Osos Rivas. How was it playing in the LNFA, so the Spanish league, for people that don't know? How do you think it prepared you to then make the jump to, because a lot of quarterbacks come into Europe and they've never played European American football, and it's a lot different compared to, the facilities and the training and the coaching level and all of that stuff that you get in the United States. So how did that help you transition to European American football?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible experience with Osos and Coach Martin, Coach Ricky, and his brother Enrique, the Martin brothers. They were absolutely incredible. All my teammates were so much fun to play with, and it really, especially in this modern era of NIL and transfer portal and everything, where there's really kind of a dollar amount attached to everything. It's being able to come to Madrid, and it's no one's getting paid, and honestly, most guys are paying dues to be on the team. And so it's just that true passion and that love for the game and just wanting to win and putting the team before yourself. It was honestly really refreshing, and kind of allowed me to fall back in love with the game after a few years of maybe kind of getting a little bit burnt out and things not necessarily going my way. So that was awesome. But definitely to your point about just a huge difference in funding, facilities, things like that, coming from Carolina with all the Jordan stuff and the indoor facility and this, that, and the other. And then, getting off the plane, and 4 days later, we're playing our first game on the Alcobendas Cavaliers field. And, I can't see a blade of grass out there. It's just mud. And I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into? But, I think to your point, getting kind of working through those things and, kind of, maybe reorienting your perspective on some of those aspects of European football probably were, beneficial to me before this season in ELF, because, I imagine for some of these guys, like the guy in Frankfurt, maybe just coming from the Chargers mini camp to Europe, and now he's got to deal with, kind of reorienting his perspective and all these changes, and he's in the middle of an ELF season. So, huge respect to him for playing so well. But I felt like, kind of my gradual journey throughout Europe has probably helped me some.
What about now? I have praised you. You've won the trivia game. I've talked about how great you've been so far with the Munich Ravens and everything. I have to go to the negatives. People have raised questions about your accuracy and about the interceptions. You have 23 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year. So my question is, of course, you're a young quarterback. There is room to improve. What do you reply to those questions?
There's a common saying in the States is the ball is the program. And so that's definitely an issue. You never want to be turning the ball over. And so, something that I'm definitely focused on is just being smarter with the ball. But sometimes it's better to turn on the tape than just look at the box score. And every turnover kind of has a story to it. And at the end of the day, it falls on me, and I take full responsibility for it. But you can't really view anything in a vacuum, and, just continue trying to get better.
Listen, I think I'm a big proponent of, if my quarterback's not taking enough risks, I don't want him. I want a gunslinger that's just going to live and die by it, And I feel like it's paid off. You guys just one loss on the season, offensive efficiency out the wazoo, but it feels like you guys can answer the bell anytime any adversity comes your way. I mean, I think about the one game I've had with you guys this year was that Madrid game. That was back and forth as it could be. That was a true team win, couple turnovers here and there, mainly from both sides. And it just felt like you guys never really blinked an eye. So to the haters that are worried about interceptions, look at the win total. I'll stick up for you, Russ.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Russ. I don't know. I would call you Russell, but
well, you can call me either one. Kind of a 50-50 split over here.
Yeah, but I think it goes to show, I think especially in this league too, because it is very quarterback heavy and quarterback reliant. You kind of have to be a little bit of a risk taker to be able to win those games.
Well, a way you can call him, Joey, is Tabor time. This picked up in the game against the Stuttgart Surge that you were able to bring home. Man, I love the spirit at the end of the game. You're down. You need to win the game. You're not sliding. You're jumping forward and landing on your face. What happened there? Can you break down that play? You had to go up for a second. You had your I think your mouse or your chin strap hit you in the face or something like that. What happened? Can you break that down?
Yeah, so that play specifically, I think we might have had a run play or a quarterback draw on. I can't remember exactly what, but the snap was low. It was just kind of one of those, I guess you could say, oh crap moments. And so just kind of get what you can. And got outside and, I guess instinct sort of took over. Probably not my finest hurdle attempt there, but got the first down and yeah, helmet kind of popped me in the face and mouth was bleeding. And so I guess we had to burn a timeout there, but ended up getting a touchdown a couple of plays later, and that win felt great.
I mean, we've seen the Ravens fall back early in the game a couple of times this year. And the great thing has been you were always able to bounce back and win it when it matters the most. I think that's what actually earned you the Tabor time. It's fourth quarter, it's Tabor time. He's taking over, he's going to win this game. So what I have for you is, would you describe yourself as clutch? How are you able to bring out this moment for the team?
I might not necessarily comment on that, but I'd say I've always felt like regardless of the sport and kind of regardless of what age I've been ever since I was young, in the biggest moments, I want the ball in my hands. I want to step up. And, I think we have seen some of that. And, my teammates have made incredible plays in the biggest moments. And, my O-line is blocking their asses off. And I think to some extent, when they know that I'm not going to blink, they're behind them. And, on fourth down or when the game's on the line, that's when I feel like I'm at my best. I think they really rally around the energy, and that's when they're at their best as well. And so I think kind of all 11 of us coming together with that same mentality has culminated in some of these come from behind wins or big fourth quarter performances. But kind of to your prior question of me having some turnover issues or things like that, I think that Stuttgart game is a great example. Is if I play better in those first three quarters, or really first 4.5 quarters or 3.5 quarters, we might not need those late game heroics that we were able to have. And so that's definitely been a focus of mine, is just playing cleaner ball earlier in the game and not forcing us into those spots where we have to be clutch. And it's great that we can be, but that next step for all of us, and it starts with me, is just maybe teams who we feel like we can put away earlier, going ahead and doing that.
Joey, can you jump on with the next one?
Absolutely, yeah. No, we're thinking about your journey, and we talked a bit about it. And some of the differences between your experience in Carolina at Chapel Hill, Osas Rivas, and now with Munich. What's kind of changed as far as technical it's gotten at each stop is more one thing that I'm curious about, and also just like kind of the competition level and how you connect with people from different cultures. Like, curious, sort of an umbrella question.
I guess I'll maybe go question by question. You might have to remind me.
Maybe start with like the technical part, like where obviously with American football in the States, you could deep dive a lot. When you're in Europe, I'm sure you're playing with folks that don't have as much experience as you do. Where have you challenged your guys to? Are you finding yourself challenging your guys to get with the technical terms and learn coverages, for example, and offensive line protection, or has it been a little bit more 100 level, if you will, just to make sure everybody's on the same page?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say my experiences have been different. So if we start with Spain, largely they had an offensive system in place, and it was more basic and bare bones. And I brought in some of our stuff from UNC, or just kind of general football stuff that I'd picked up through my years, and would install it for certain situations. Largely didn't really have anyone kind of on me about decision making or things like that. And so, to your prior comment about being a gunslinger, like if you want to see a gunslinger, you turn on my Spain tape, because I was taking the most aggressive possible option at all times and trying to sling some deep balls. And kind of now transitioning to Munich, having Sean, having Kyle, and a lot of coaches on the staff who really know ball and have been on me about just being a more consistent quarterback, playing from the pocket more, kind of just being more precise with my intermediate pass game reads and footwork and stuff. And so I think that's been helpful for me, and maybe not as much in the mindset of like I develop my game in the States so I can implement it in Europe. And it's more of, continuous development and sort of reestablishing that growth mindset of like, you never stop improving, you never stop learning. And so that's one thing I've really enjoyed about my time here in Munich. But as far as the guys around me, yeah, I mean, there's somewhat of a learning curve to it. And I think really the toughest part is just guys have other jobs and they can't put in 3 hours of film study every day like the imports can. And so I think especially when you're looking at new installs week to week, it's harder to be as variable here as we were able to be in the States, when you have guys meeting for hours on end every day, and you have much more practice time. So there is a hurdle there, but I really just applaud these guys for, every waking hour they've got they're trying to, fit in some film study time or install time, and we're able to get a good bit in despite their busy schedules.
Do you find that you can be more direct with the Germans that are in the homegrowns that are in your team versus the Spanish, or how is that, like, as a leader, like, how are you kind of commanding and provoking guys, like, to get the best out of them?
It's definitely been just sort of a continuous evolution for me, and I would be the first to say that I still could do a much better job, but I'm always a very direct leader. And so as a quarterback, man, if you didn't do it how we're thinking, I'll tell you right away. And, if you think I'm wrong, we can have a discussion. But yeah, no, I'm kind of a leave no stone unturned type of guy. And always going to try to build my guys up and build that confidence in them, but also make sure that, we're all seeing things the same way and we're on the same page, so that on Sundays, none of that maybe gray area can come to light. But I'd say actually even Spanish guys and German guys, they've all responded really well. I think everyone does a really good job of checking the ego at the door, and I think they're really open to kind of wanting to learn. At the end of the day, everyone wants to get the ball, so they want to be on the same page as me.
You think that comes with the fact that football in Europe is a little bit behind in terms of money and stuff? Like, if I'm here and I'm taking the time out of my day, I have another job, and I'm here and I'm playing with this guy, I want to listen to every word, and I'm not going to be, bitchy, Does that make sense? Like, do you think it comes with the fact that football here is different?
Maybe so, but I just know from my background in the States, and I think Joey could probably attest to this, is a lot of times it's hard for people to, take constructive criticism and not kind of feel personally attacked sometimes. But I just can only applaud these guys for just really wanting to get better. And maybe some of it is to the fact of not having that development when they were younger. And so any type of coaching or development that they can get, they're gonna buy into it. But I just feel like there's a lot of humility and just a hunger to get better and to win games.
I have to ask you, what is your relationship with Malik Stanley? He's a veteran receiver here in Europe. He was with Munich last year as well. Great player. He's been doing it for a while. So has he helped you outside of the field also? And then what's your relationship in the field, of course?
Yeah, we have an awesome relationship. I mean, I can say without a doubt, Leek's the best receiver I've ever played with. And, not only is he, super skilled in all the ways you see in the box score of, being a great route runner and contested catch guy, but he blocks his butt off. He's just a competitor, and he does a lot of those things that kind of that dirty work that really, I think, sets the tone for the rest of the team. And he's got just kind of this contagious energy about him. And so I think even though we have very different energies, I'm not really hooting and hollering and talking smack type of guy, but he have this same mentality of the things that truly matter, and that's just that dogged competitiveness and that hunger. And so I think early on, maybe in our first few games, he kind of saw that in me. And I think ever since then, we've kind of just been attached at the hip. And, I know, speaking for myself, I'm very grateful to get to play with him.
I have to ask you about Chad Jeffries. You are getting in for Chad. Chad was, recruited by Ryan Fire through the offseason when Ryan Fire lost Jadrian. So there was kind of this whole movement of quarterbacks, and they're all great quarterbacks. And then Munich is like, I have this young guy. I'm going to sign him to a multi-year contract. First of all, did you feel expectation on you when you signed with Munich? Second of all, what do you think has helped you fill in for Chad Jeffries? And do you think the team in particular helped you fill his shoes without, holding you back in any way or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I know everyone here really, really loves Chad and respects him a lot. And, especially him coming in with an expansion franchise at ground zero and having as much success as he did is super impressive. But, I mean, honestly, I didn't feel any added expectation because he was the quarterback here before I was. Would imagine every American import, especially every American quarterback, would say this, but we're not coming over here halfway across the world 6 months out of the year to be average. We come over here to dominate and to go win a championship. And so whether the quarterback before me was the worst in the league or the best in the league, that wasn't going to impact the expectations that I put on myself. So long story short, no, there wasn't any expectation on me from filling in for Chad. But I do think that the team and the organization has done a phenomenal job of just kind of facilitating my process of joining the ELF and feeling super comfortable here. And I really just can't, I guess, understate the importance of having Kyle Callahan and Sean Shelton here, and then really good players around me, because a quarterback's only as good as the guys around him, especially the O-line and the skill guys. And so I kind of didn't really know what I was getting myself into when I signed, but for whatever reason, I feel like I won the lottery and lucked out with just a really good supporting cast, and that's definitely helped me perform at a solid level this year.
All right, so my second question was, of course, Game Picks is the segment that's coming up. I'm going to be with Jamal Clay. We're going to be talking about the next week of games. Your next game is against the Madrid Bravos, a game that Joey commented in the first time around, a game that was truly amazing. How are you preparing to go up against a Bravos team that wants to get in the playoffs and that has an offense that is tough to hang with, tough to stay in the game with? Because if you don't play the first half of the game, Madrid is going to go up by 24.
No doubt. And that's what happened the first time. But, we felt fortunate to still be able to escape with a win because of how well our defense played in the second half. But I guess to your prior point, one thing I learned in my time playing in Spain is those guys play with so much heart and a huge chip on their shoulder. And you combine that with having the playoffs on the line for them. And so I know we're going to get their best punch, and they do have an incredible offense. And so I think at least I can only speak for our unit on offense. And we go into every game like this, but especially for a game like this, you got to score every drive, because with this offense we're going against, you never would want to find yourself in a position where you don't score on the first drive and now you can never catch up the rest of the game, because they're just that prolific on the other end. And even though I feel like we have the best defense in the league, as a competitor, you always want to feel like you've got the balance in the game in your hands. And so I guess at a certain point in the game last time, we kind of felt like even though we've kind of caught our groove now and we feel confident that we'll score every possession for the rest of the game, that still might not be enough unless our defense can get a stop or unless we can get crucial plays on special teams or things like that. And you always want kind of self-determination and control in your hands. And so we got to start fast.
Yeah. So you're saying you wouldn't want to block the potential game-tying field goal again to win if you had to draw it up?
Hey, I know I'm the youngest quarterback in the league, but I think I got a couple gray hairs growing in from that last drive.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I know you guys got to catch up with Reed and play some golf as well. It was a cool video. It's interesting to see you guys have that relationship. It's awesome to see quarterbacks being able to hang out during off weeks or whatever it might be, spreading and growing the game, man. That's what it's all about. So, and when you have a QB clash like that, that's what makes the game great. I wish I was calling it. Yeah. To be honest, it'd be fun to do round two. But.
Yeah,
I wish I was there.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure getting to play against guys like that, because it makes me make sure I'm on my A game. And I think for both of us, as we hopefully both go into the playoffs, games like this are what makes it better, and iron sharpens iron. And I'm glad to have kind of more playoff-esque games on our schedule as we move there.
This could be a preview of Wild Card, because as of right now, it looks. As long as Nordic takes care of business in Vienna, like they're pretty much going to have 1-2 locked up. And, but you might have a Munich Ravens team that might just go on a run here, get the point differential, and you guys could sneak into a bye. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Strength of wins might see.
Did I misspeak? Are you guys clinched right now? Is the season ending today?
We're clinched, and I think strength of victory would actually play in our advantage. So I think if we win out, we're control our destiny of having a bye. So that's
my bad. So because I knew there was something goofy, because I remember looking and I was like, why is Munich not one or two right now? So
Storm somehow lost to Frankfurt, so that's all happened. My last question before we move on to game picks is: do you think the homecoming jerseys are going to help you clinch this bye week this weekend?
Thank you. There's we're excited about it, and anything to get some more fans out there, we're always a huge fans of as players. And so I don't know about the jerseys. Hopefully the Bravos wear red or something, so it's very clear who's who. That's pretty much all I care about as a quarterback. But hopefully so. I think maybe
they have red pants. I don't think they have a red jersey.
Okay, yeah. I guess hopefully they'll be black then. But no, we're excited about it, and always a pleasure to get to play in front of the home crowd.
Moving on to game picks. Thank you so much, Russell, for getting into the interview. I hope you had a lot of fun with the trivia and everything we did. And Joey, of course, thank you so much. And I don't know if you're calling any game this weekend. Are you calling any game?
Yeah, the Storm and Hamburg. So
you always with the Storm, of course.
Yeah.
So Joey, enjoy calling your game. Russell, I'll love watching your game against Madrid. Best of luck with that one, and thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, Russell.